Hello and welcome to the big picture. 60,260 cases pending before the Supreme Court and 6 vacancies of judges in the apex court. 38.68 lakh cases pending in the various high courts in the country and files for fresh appointments of 169 judges for the high courts pending before the government for some months now. And over 3 crore cases pending in the district courts and lower courts and thousands of vacancies at that level yet to be filled. This is the state of affairs of the judiciary from the highest level to the lowest in the country, which caused the Honorable Chief Justice of India to choke with emotion while talking about it yesterday before a galaxy of eminent people, including the Prime Minister, Chief Ministers and his brother judges. Why has the situation reached such a stage that a Chief Justice is forced to break down emotionally? Is the executive not responding adequately to the needs of the judiciary? What are the compulsions of the executive? Is the decision to strike down National Judicial Appointments Commission by the apex court have anything to do with the present crisis of pendency as well as vacancies? Is the decision of the judiciary to appoint retired judges to handle pending cases a solution? We will discuss all this today with KTS Tulsi, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court, and also a MP in the Rajya Sabha, Bhat, Senior Advocate, Professor C. Rajkumar, Vice Chancellor of OP Jindal Global University, Satya Prakash, Legal Editor, Hindustan Times, and on the phone line from Jammu is Justice B.A. Khan, Retired Chief Justice of Jammu and Kashmir High Court. Welcome to all of you. Justice Khan, what we witnessed yesterday was not a very, not a very good sight. Why has it reached this stage?
No, I don't think that incident had anything to do with the pendency of the cases in the courts, which has been there for the last so many years and which we have been debating endlessly for the last so many years. And that pendency has contributory factors. That is not the only the shortage of judges. There are other factors also. And that requires a separate debate to point out what is leading to that pendency and what are the solutions. You know, Girish, we have been trying for the last decade or two to have some judicial reforms and deal with the problem, but we have not been successful. Because there has not been a will, there has not been a political will to effect that reform in the judiciary. For example, the foremost reason for these delays is the lack of management in the judiciary. Our judiciary is managed by judicial officers who have no experience of management, for example. I am giving you only one example for that. Now, we have been talking about this, our judicial academies have been talking about this, collecting material, doing research. But ultimately, when it comes to crux and when it comes to finding a solution, we have been failing because there has not been a coordination between the political executive and the judiciary. So I would not be contributing this theory that yesterday's incident had anything to do with this. And as far as the recruitment to the higher judiciary is concerned, that is a reform which is immediately needed. And if you recall, we had started on that with the Judicial Appointments Commission, which goes back to history, goes back to 1990 when Mr. Dinesh Goswami was the law minister. And ever since we have not been able to find a mechanism for appointment of judges to the higher judiciary. Now lately we had that Judicial Appointments Commission, which was cost set aside by the Supreme Court. But look at the irony. While setting aside, they said the main fault with the recruitment process was that it was secretive, that it was confined to the 5 judges of the collegium, that it was not transparent, that it was not fair.
Hello. I think we have lost him. We'll get back to him. I think we'll get back to him. Mr. Tulsi, how do you see this whole problem? You know, if going by what the Chief Justice was talking yesterday, one of the major reasons for this huge pendency is the vacancies which are there in the judiciary, right from the lowest level to the topmost level. You think filling up of vacancies is one of the major solutions?
Yes, yes, yes. You see, if you look at the statistics, 92.5 lakh cases have been filed in the last 2 years.
Yes.
And that constitutes 42.46% of the total pendency. Now, the pendency has gone up in the last 2 years by 42%, and the vacancies have come down to half. Almost 44% is the vacancy. So, the Chief Justices have very short tenure. Normally, they have a tenure of, on the average, about 1 year. Some have little more, and the others have less, even up to a couple of weeks. But the Chief Justices invariably chalk out an agenda for themselves. And his ambition, every Chief Justice has an ambition to go down in the history as someone who achieved something. And for that purpose, if the pendency has risen by 42% and the vacancy continues at 44%, there is no way the pendency is going to come down. And he gave primary importance to the filling up of vacancies, and he sacrificed bringing certain senior judges from the high courts to the Supreme Court so that the filling up of vacancies at the high court level could be expedited. Now, about 170 recommendations are pending with the government for varying period of time, and he obviously is so frustrated. He's a decent man. He doesn't use harsh language ever. Even in the most trying circumstances in the court, he is one of the politest judges. And what does he say to a situation like this, which is completely beyond his control? So therefore, I feel that it is the anguish that he is left with only 6 months of his tenure, and what would he be remembered? That the pendency went up by 42%, and the vacancies just won't get filled up. I think the government should cooperate with this endeavor, because we need to remember that pendency gives rise to increase in crime. There are more than 10% cases which are pending for 10 years. Large number of these cases are murder cases, rape cases. Now, when they are not decided for almost 10 years, what will happen? What happens is that the crime increases and the conviction rate declines.
Right.
And that is what leads to mob rule.
Okay.
We have any number of instances of mob rule were taking place in Dadri, in Palwal, in Haryana, all over.
Okay.
And so many, in Vyapam cases, so many people dying, witnesses,
Okay.
accused.
Okay, sir.
So
Okay,
the
sir.
government should show urgency in the matter of appointments.
Okay. Professor Rajkumar, judicial reforms, and as Justice Khan was talking about, we have been talking about it for years and years and years. Do you also agree with him that there's lack of political will?
It's a multi-pronged, approach is needed. Frankly speaking, at one level, we obviously need to expedite these judicial appointments, but we also need to ask a larger question. We know that the government is the largest litigant. I mean, look at the situation with regard to if you look at across the courts, nearly 60% of these cases, government is the litigant. So unless and until we create a complete attitudinal change in the approach to governance, in which every matter is litigated and is appealed by the government, you look at it, the kind of situation that has arisen where, in fact, in one of the recent cases, the court had to intervene on a matter where corporations are involved and some sort of a vexatious litigation was being pursued, and the court literally imposed penalty on 3 corporations. A couple of them were multinational corporations or foreign corporations. The point which I am really trying to argue here is that we need to have an overarching approach towards this. First, of course, these judicial appointments need to be done. Secondly, one of the aspects of the dialogue that ought to happen between judiciary and the government is how is the government going to change its approach, both state and central, in relation to appealing decisions? Every decision that happens in the lower court is appealed to High Court, in the High Court to Supreme Court. That obviously clogs the system. And of course, we also need to look at, and I personally don't think NJAC is a phenomenon that happened in the last couple of years. And obviously, there is some degree of delay that has happened. But this is not something which one particular government need to be blamed for. This is the historical lack of a high degree of indifference to the needs of fulfilling what the judiciary ought to be. We can't expect effective justice delivery mechanism, which is the heartbeat of rule of law, without protecting the functioning mechanism of judiciary. And so long as we don't address that, we will always have these situations. And I entirely agree with Mr. Tulsi when he says that it has reached a stage where the judiciary is demonstrating a high degree of helplessness.
Exactly.
And,
That is serious helplessness. Mr. Bhat, how do you look at this? The
Yes.
charge that in the last 2 years the pendency have increased, the vacancies have increased, the pendencies have increased. Do you agree with that?
Possible. If that is the statistics, it is possible, but that doesn't take me anywhere except that, the delay in appointments have been chronic. In 1992, the second judge's case started because there was a long list, a number of vacancies, large number of vacancies pending, and the government did not appoint. So the Advocates on Record Association went to the Supreme Court praying that the judges may be appointed fast. So the problem has been persisting now, but somehow it was not out of control. I think the crisis came about because of on 13th of April this year, the Government of India announced that the NJAC laws have come into force. With that, the collegium collapsed. There was no collegium, and it could be restored only by about October, and later on for some reason about January. So there is a non-functional. Whatever they have recommended are pending with the government for whatever reason. So it is like a delayed running of some trains, and once that happens, the whole system gets upset, and that is what has happened now. And undoubtedly, increasing the number of judges is one of the solutions, but not the only solutions, as everybody else of my colleagues have stated. There are a number of things which you have been debating again and again and not come to a conclusion. But undoubtedly, appointing more judges and hopefully good judges, because good judges make a difference. We practicing lawyers know that a good judge is able to dispose of 10 cases in one sitting without any fuss, without any sort of a pain to anybody. And at the same time, similar judges of the similar rank takes days and days together to hear a case. But these are all inbuilt frailties of the system. I can't say anything more. But it is true that we are now have reached a situation where the Chief Justice of India helplessly had to, because it was beyond his control except breaking down in public. And hopefully the Prime Minister would, whatever is possible from his side, will shortly do something about it. And we'll see the result in the matter of appointment very shortly. In the matter of reducing the arrears, it will be a little longer when we realize it.
It will be a longer procedure. Satya Prakash.
Well, because I tell you.
Yes.
Girish, the entire process, because we have been accumulating these arrears for so long. Some of them have no life. They are simply there to add to the numbers. I can tell you, out of the so many lakhs, today if you take up, there will be no plaintiff, no defendant, because everybody would have either died or given up their interest. But the cases are pending.
Okay.
That type of cases would constitute at least about 5 to 10%.
Which can be straight away eliminated from the records. Okay, sir, I think you made some important points. You made some important point. I'll come back to you, Satya Prakash. Political will. Is it? Do you see lack of political will? Do you see some kind of a clash between the judiciary and the executive here?
I do, but before that, the lack of political will has been there throughout.
Yes.
Because judicial reforms has never been on the agenda of any government. Successive governments, they have ignored this area, and despite knowing fully well, because there are several reports of Law Commission and various other commissions, which pointed out that there is a problem and we need to solve it. They also suggested, or rather recommended, solutions to it, as pointed out by the CJI, that way back in 1987,
right,
there was Law Commission of India report, 120th report, which said that the judge population ratio in India is very poor. We need to increase
it. Was 13 and it should have been increased to 50.
No, it was 10 that time.
10,
now it's 13. It needed to be raised up to the level of 50. And we are nowhere. And so the frustration is obvious and it is understandable. But at the same time, I want to point out that the current crisis is partly created by the judiciary itself. First of all, throughout, particularly the senior advocates on this panel would know, throughout at least around 30 to 33% vacancy has been there in various high courts. At times in Allahabad High Court, it would be more than 50%.
Yes.
So it has been a problem, and you cannot blame the government because the appointments were with the collegium. So this problem has been there. How this has become much more serious is due to NJSC and the litigation, but then there was no stay on appointments. Still the judges chose not to appoint, neither under the NJSC nor under the new system, because the verdict came in middle of October last year. But since then, nothing happened. So it is not that the entirely government has to be blamed. All of a sudden, 170 or 169 recommendations have gone. So government need to examine it and expedite the process. But to say that everything has all of a sudden happened, no. The problem has been there, and the judiciary is partly to be blamed for this. They must take the blame, and it is not just in the high courts. It is also in the trial courts where appointments are completely under the supervision of the high courts. So they also then don't take any measures because there was no NGSE regarding the problem regarding the trial courts. But there are around 4,000 vacancies in the trial courts which are clogged with around a quarter to 3 crore cases.
Yes.
So the problem is there, but now that it has become too much serious, now it's a kind of waking
What is this clash you're talking about?
Class, I am saying post NJSC, because the judges themselves, they admitted in the NJSC verdict that the collegium system is problematic, it is opaque, it needs to be made transparent. And for that, they suggested that the memorandum of procedure has to be drafted by the government. The government is in the process of drafting, but then the tussle is going on because there are allegations that what the government could not achieve through NJSC, now they are trying to achieve through the memorandum of procedure. And that is why this tug of war may be correct or may not be correct, but so long as this problem is there, they should sit together as suggested by Prime Minister suggested that we can sit together and we can discuss the problem and sort it out.
Okay. Justice Khan?
Yes.
Justice Khan,
Yes.
one of the points made by Professor Rajkumar, interesting point, which many people keeps reminding us, that one of the biggest litigants, is the government. And is there any solution there? You think that the governments can change their attitude, which has been there, which actually, as some people say, is a legacy of the colonial legacy which we carry on?
Girish, that requires, what I was saying is a political will. I don't buy the argument that the shortages of judges is the only factor responsible for the delay and responsible for the pendency of cases in our courts. I, in fact, believe that judges are one of the contributory factors. We have judges who are not dispute resolution spirited.
Oriented.
We have judges who are adjournment oriented.
Right.
And we have judges who drag on cases to years and years. And I consider that for delay and pendency, all three lawyers sitting on your panel, but the lawyer, the judge and the litigant all the three are responsible. And if you look at this problem from depth, you will find that you have to start with the laws. Who drafts those laws? Bad laws. And the problem starts from there. And as Mr. Rajkumar was pointing out, the government is the litigating party, and that government adds to the arrears by its own. For example, you will find in my experience, you will find that the government doesn't reply to a case for years on, and courts go on giving adjournments. So it's not so simple. What I was saying, Mr. Bhat said that we must have good judges. Now, how do we have good judges? After those advocates record case and all that, judiciary appropriated that power to itself.
Sorry, I think we have lost him again. Yeah, Mr. Bhat, would you like to react to that? How do we get good judges? One of the problems.
Yes. Well, that is a good girlfriend need not necessarily become a good wife. So I don't know, a good lawyer will not become I'm not very sure how to select, how to find out, etc. But then we have been able to get good judges time and again, and we have been seeing, and how exactly they have been chosen. Well, all that we can say that an honest machinery, which I personally don't think that the collegium is the right one, but that is an old history now. For the time being, we have to live with that.
Right.
Until another constitutional amendment successfully is made and comes into force. But the collegium is not right for, among other things. You see, they are all overworked people. They have got every day, they have got so much of work, out of which they have to sit together and then go and study through these files of the judges, and selecting them is not an easy. And they don't have a suitable machinery to advise them.
Right.
Because unless there is a proper machinery where a list of probable candidates are put and then scrutinized and kept, getting good judges is very difficult. In the present process, it is going purely by some seniority when it comes to the Supreme Court, and going purely by income tax returns or something of the sort when it goes to the appointment to the High Court.
Okay.
These are not the right things to do.
Okay. Yes, Mr.
No,
Khan.
Girish, what I was saying is that exercise of we finding out a mechanism for appointment of judges, for example, this National Judicial Appointments Commission, and a procedure to be laid down for that, which could make the selection fair, which could make it transparent. Have we forgotten that? And we debated that for 4 years.
Yes.
And today we are back to the same thing, same pick and choose without any fair procedure being laid down. I am saying that this 169 recommendation which have been made should not be made till a fair procedure, new memorandum of procedure is adopted. And that memorandum of procedure must ensure that who is the candidate, what are his antecedents, what are his qualifications, what is the eligibility criteria.
Okay.
And then only we can be talking of having good judges, and those good judges may ultimately lead to lessening the burden or clearing some areas.
Okay.
But if we give it a go-by, then we are misleading the people also, because we have been debating this thing. And that memorandum of procedure, as Satya was saying, is not with the government. Government has passed that on to the Chief Justice of India, and it is the Supreme Court which is sitting on that. Why can't it be finalized? It will take a sitting or two to finalize it. Why can't this 169 recruitment be made in accordance with the new memorandum procedure? Then only we'll be doing some justice.
Okay, sir.
And I recall when Chief Justice of India took over, he said that no further appointments will be made unless we have a new memorandum of procedure.
Right.
And today that memorandum of procedure is given a go-by, and 169 people will be coming back to the back to the old story again.
Okay, sir. Okay, Mr. Tulsi. Mr. Tulsi is, this whole memorandum of procedure. In fact, the Chief Justice has mentioned it yesterday about having a meeting with Sushma Swaraj, who has been heading that committee. So that we will see how it will happen, what will come out of it. But the question is, to what extent you think that in the shorter term we'll be able to see any changes in the procedure, changes in all these things and a better recruitment of judges, because yesterday the focus of the Chief Justice has been the vacancies in the judiciary.
Well, actually, I don't agree with the judgment because principally they say that law minister is part of the collegium and therefore this is not independent. I don't agree with this. I know that in Scotland and many other countries, Canada, Australia, there are judicial appointments commission which are almost entirely manned by laymen. And to say that what is the qualification of the law minister, I don't think is very fair.
No, but now
and
that
besides,
they can't, yes, now
I want to. That's right.
Now that is a dead issue.
In
now
any case, even if the appointment is made, the judges can at least consider that all appointments should be made of lawyers in courts which are other than the court where they are practicing. That way it will become fairer. And I want to say that government is a major litigant. See, we need to remember that 1 crore 46 lakh cases out of 2 crore 18 lakh cases are criminal cases. So state has to be
state has no choice.
Dominus litis. The state initiates the criminal cases.
Right.
To say that, so therefore it is not right. But the court should also consider that merely increasing the number of judges is not the solution. The solution really is that a participative method and a more transparent method is required for appointment of judges.
Okay.
This judges appointing themselves is not the procedure anywhere in the world.
Okay, sir.
I don't understand how long are we going to continue with this kind of system.
Okay, sir. Professor Rajkumar, very quick last words.
I just want to mention that one of the problems that we have is also the internal management system
which
docket
Justice,
itself.
Which Justice Khan spoke about, the management skills are lacking.
Internal docket system, but also even in the appointments procedure, if you look at it, the heart of the problem is also about how does the court, beyond the judge's job related to judging, adjudication, how do they work together with an administrative support system to process applications, to have a transparent method of evaluating the qualifications.
All that needs to be done.
All of that has to also be brought in.
Okay, I think on that note we need to end. This is a debate which will have to continue, but many points have come up in today's debate, which hopefully will be taken up by the authorities concerned. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time tomorrow.